Welcome back to the Big Daddy Unlimited Shooting Academy. I'm your host, Josh. Today we're going to talk about some sights, different kinds of sights like iron sights, red dots, magnified optics, and kind of explain what you need to see and how you can see better, I guess, with those sights. So let's get into it. Today I have my AR SBR with some offset iron sights and a non-magnified one-powered red dot. So for this type of setup, nice and short, you don't really need anything past one, because if you're trying to shoot further than that, you'll want something a little bit better as far as barrel length goes. So a few of the questions that I usually get from my students is what they need to see, especially when they're using iron sights, even red dots. Sometimes people have a hard time with red dots, and we're going to help you past a few issues. So we're going to start with the iron sights. Now mine are a 45-degree cant, but you can put them right on top of you on its co-witness. I prefer having it on a 45-degree angle just in case a bunch of stuff gets into my optic or my optic cracks. If it snows, if it rains, stuff gets into your optic, makes it pretty much useless. Having backup iron sights co-witnessing with your dot may not work so well. You'll have to take your optic off or deal with it. At least with a 45-degree cant, I can just turn the gun to the side and I'll have my iron sights, or another red dot on the side if you were preferring that. So with iron sights, it's kind of like a pistol where the rear sight's somewhat a little bit hazy and the front sight's a little bit more focused. So what we're trying to do, there are different kinds of sights. There's HK style, there's M4 style sights. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of vision type stuff that you're going to see, but for the most part you're going to have some kind of aperture in the back and you're going to have some kind of post in the front to be able to align in the center. So what you're wanting to do, just like pretty much anything with sights, is that especially with both eyes open, you'll want to be able to align your rear sight, front sight in a line with your dominant eye. I just so happen to be left eye dominant. If you don't know what dominant eye you have, you can do some tests. And one of them being is you can pick a spot on a wall somewhere or an object, like a tip of an object, and you're just going to laser beam focus on it. And then you're just going to bring your one finger up from the bottom until you touch the bottom of that piece that you're trying to point at. And then try to close one or the other eye. If your eye that you close and your eye that's open, if you're staying on target, then that's your dominant eye. If you close one of the eyes and you're like 3 feet off the target, then that's not your dominant eye. So just a quick note, if you're left eye dominant but you're right-handed, you can learn how to shoot a rifle left-handed very easily. There's not a lot of dexterity involved with holding a gun, especially something like this. You have a grip, you just have to grip it as hard as you can to keep it nice and steady. But all you're doing is this. There's really not much manipulation or like mobility that you need with the left side. So if you're left eye dominant, make it easier on yourself. Just learn how to shoot left-handed. There are benefits to that and not so many cons. You might get a few powder burns on your side of your arm here, especially if you're using something like this, like an AR-15, but you get over it. It's superficial, they go away, it doesn't leave any scars. So with that said, let's get back to the sights. So what I want to do is I want to align the sights with my dominant eye. And then what I'm going to try to do is use both of my eyes for separate jobs. So your dominant eye is going to mostly do the job of seeing what you need to see with the sights. So you're going to look through that aperture hole into the front sight, line those things up with your left eye. And then you're going to take your right eye and you're going to try to use it to get more of a bigger picture. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take one image, a big image, and we're going to superimpose a more micro-focused image right on top. So there's two different planes, I guess you can say. That's how your eyes kind of work anyway. So we're basically going to line those two up instead of trying to use both eyes to see the sights. Because once you do that, your vision does this and that. So you're going to end up seeing kind of this weird, hazy, triple, double, quadruple vision, and that's not what we want. So try to tell which eye to do what. So dominant eye, see the sights. Non-dominant eye, see everything else around you, okay? So easiest way to kind of get your eyes used to that is just like what we were doing with our dominant eye test. we're going to focus on a spot somewhere, a target, if you will. And then when we bring the sights up, we're just going to let our eyes do their jobs, and then try to give your eyes a chance to start to focus. Sometimes your eyes will try to do this like back and forth focusing because your eyes don't really know you don't really know what you're trying to tell your body to do. So take the time to practice that. Try to figure out those sights with what eye. It helps a lot to just dry fire practice it. Just keep bringing the gun up, try to focus, bring it back down, and back and forth, okay? So, like I said, what you need to see with iron sights is you should be able to see your target in some kind of way, and then you need to just bring that aperture with that front sight and kind of align it the way that your specific iron sights are designed to do. When it comes to red dots, it's a little bit different. What you're going to do is you're just going to 100% use both eyes to target focus. So you're just going to stare at that target. You're just going to find a spot on the target, and you're just going to bring that optic up into your dominant eye, and then there's really nothing else you need to do. If you try to shift your focus to look through the red dot as opposed to just putting the red dot in front of you, your eyes are going to do all kinds of things. And I hear a lot of people, they're like, I don't know, I think I have astigmatism or there's something wrong with my eyes, but every time I see these sights, it gets like starbursty or blurry, or I see double vision. And most of the time, it's not because you have astigmatism. It may be, but maybe just a little bit. But what could help you get past that, at least most of it, if you do have astigmatism, is focus 100% on that target. And then when you bring the dot up, it's almost like painting that target with a laser. So with a laser, you wouldn't look through, you wouldn't hold the laser like this and point at what you're trying to shoot at or what you're trying to light up. Same thing with this. All you're going to do is superimpose that dot right on top of what you're looking at. So instead of looking through the optic as if it were like a scope, like you're trying to look through a tube or something like that, just stare at the target, bring the dot up, and just make your eyes pass through pretty much everything. What you're going to see is like everything's going to kind of like almost opaque out, and then all you're going to see is the dot. And if you target focus with both eyes, you'll notice that that starburst kind of just disappears because you're not trying to see with both eyes. You're not trying to like look through the actual glass with the reticle. Now with a magnified optic, that's a little bit different because there are bends to the glass and everything like that. So that's something you definitely have to just work out, getting used to using both eyes opens. And then in some cases when you're magnified, it's really hard to keep both eyes open in some sense because one eye can't really focus the same as the other, so it kind of does this like weird twitchy burn thing. So you could rest your eye a little bit. You could definitely shoot with a magnified optic with both eyes open, but I don't know, whichever works for you. But when it comes to red dot or iron sights, try to keep both eyes open, train your eyes to do two separate tasks, and you'll be perfectly fine. So if you have any questions about how to look through optics or use certain optics, feel free to drop a comment down below, like and subscribe as usual, and we'll see you next time.